Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a complete football dashboard project called FootBuzzz. This is a modern React project built with Vite, styled using Tailwind CSS, powered by RapidAPI live football data, and structured with reusable components. Now, let's begin with the UI. When we open the app, the first thing we see is the FootBuzzz navbar. It includes navigation links for matches, standings, and fixtures, plus a live button that takes users directly to the live score section. On smaller screens, the navbar changes into a mobile menu so the app stays responsive. Below the navbar, we have a cinematic hero section. This section uses a background football video to give the project a premium sports dashboard feel. On the left side, we show quick stats like match rating, market value, and pass accuracy. In the center, we have the large featured player style title, and on the right side, we display featured match information using real football API data. If API data is loading, the UI shows loading indicators. If matches are available, the hero automatically picks some match data and displays team names, team logos, and upcoming match information. This makes the top section feel dynamic instead of static. Next, we move into the main dashboard area. The first section is the match center. This is where the app highlights the most important match from the available live and fixture data. It shows both teams, logos, score or match status, league name, kickoff time, and match summary information. There is also a view button which opens a match details panel. On the side, we have smaller match cards and quick statistics showing how many matches are tracked, how many are live, how many are finished, and how many are upcoming. This gives users a quick overview of the current football activity. After that, we have the live scores section, but unfortunately, there is no live match going on right now, so there is no live match cards showing in this section. Then we have the league standings section. In this project, the app fetches popular league data from the API and displays it in a styled standing style list. Each row includes a ranking number, league or team information, country or region data, and a trophy icon for visual polish. Next is the match schedule section. This part allows users to browse fixtures by date. We have buttons for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. When the user changes the selected date, the app calls the football API again and updates the fixture list. There is also a search input where users can search for teams. So if a user wants to quickly find a match involving a specific club, they can type the team name and the fixture list will filter automatically. Each fixture card includes the two teams, logos, score or versus status, league information, match status, and a view button. Clicking view opens the match details panel. Now let's look at the match details panel. This panel appears as a model overlay. It shows the league name, the two teams, the score or match status, location information, kickoff time, and the event ID if available. That completes the UI walkthrough. Now let's look at how the project is built.
Now open your VS Code. As you can see here, I already opened the folder in which we have to build this project. So now let's go to our Chrome and search for Vite React. Now click on this first link. Now here scroll down. In the npm you have to copy this command and let's go back. And now you have to open the terminal and paste this command here and hit enter. Now it will ask for the proceed. So type Y. Now it will ask for the name as already given. So I'll type dot. Package name will be FootBuzzz and framework will be React and variant will be JavaScript. Now we'll choose ESLint for linting and type yes to install the node packages. Now wait till the time it is installing. Now here as it is installed. Now let's open our project first. Type O and hit enter. Now as you can see, a basic React template you can see here. So let's open a new tab here and search for the Tailwind CSS. Click on this link. Now here you have to copy this command. Let's go back. Open a split terminal here and paste this command here and hit enter. Till the time it is installing, let's go back, and here we have to copy this import. Let's copy it and let's go back. Inside vite.config.js file, paste that import here. Now let's go back and copy this plugin as well. Let's go back, and right here you have to place a comma and paste this Tailwind CSS plugin. Once you have done this, let's go back and copy this import as well. And in your source folder, first let's delete this app.css file. So let me delete it. Now open the index.css. You have to remove this code from here and paste that import here. Once you have done this, let's go back and let's copy the h1 tag here and go back, open your app.jsx, remove this code and type RAFCE in this. Let's paste that h1 tag here. Change the class with the class name. Now here, let's check our site. Let's refresh once. Now as you can see, our Tailwind CSS has been installed. Now in our project, we'll use Lucid React icons. So for that, let's open a new tab here and search for the Lucid React. Now click on this link and copy this command, and let's go back. In your terminal, paste this command here and it will install all Lucid React packages. So after that, let's make a components folder inside our source folder. Right here, components. Inside your components folder, let's make a component which is hero.jsx. Now before building this hero page, we have to build a service folder inside which we will create football API file. So let's make service folder here, and inside this we'll make football API.js file. Now inside this, now first we have to get the API keys. Open a new tab here and search for the RapidAPI here. Now open this link. It will land you on the RapidAPI landing page, and you have to open this link here. Now, as I already signed in, you have to sign in first. Let's search for the football live API. Here you will get the football API. Click on this and it will open the API page. As I already subscribed it, so you have to subscribe it first. Choose the basic plan, which is a free version. It will give you 100 requests per month. Now we have to copy this API key from here. Let's go back to our VS Code and let's make a .env .local file here. to store this API key. Put this folder outside the source folder. Now in this, let's give a name for this key, which will be Vite underscore RapidAPI underscore key. Now paste that key here. Once you have done this, let's go back to our services football F4 file. Inside that, first we have to import the Axios here. So for that, let's in your terminal type npm I Axios. It will install the Axios packages. So let's import Axios from Axios. Once you have done this, right here, let's write const API underscore host is equal to, inside this, you have to paste the host name of that API. So let's go to our RapidAPI, and here in headers, you will find the host name. So click here and copy this host name from here. Let's go back and paste that name here. And after that, let's write const API underscore URL. Now we have to write a URL here. So for that, open a backticks. Inside that, write https :// and write a $sign here, and we have to paste the API host which we defined above inside this. Paste that here, and after that, let's write const API underscore key. And this will store that key from the .env.local file. So let's import .meta .env dot. After that, we have to paste the same name which we defined in the .env. Paste that exact name here. Now once you have done this, let's go back to our RapidAPI. Copy the head from this code snippet. Let's copy it. Let's go back. Right here, let's make const API is equal to Axios dot create method. Inside that, let's write the base URL in which we'll paste the API underscore URL which we have defined above. And you have to paste the headers which you have copied from the RapidAPI. And as we already defined the key in our .env, so we have to paste the API underscore key, and instead of host name, we have to write API underscore. Now let's put a comma here, and right here, let's make a function to check if the API key is available or not. So write export const and give the name of this function as football API key. So it should be equal to boolean, and right here we'll write API underscore key. Now let's make another function here, export const format football date, to get the formatted date. So right here, write add days is equal to 0, which is initial value will be 0, and open a R function. inside this, let's write const date is equal to new date. And now after that, here write date dot set date, and inside that we'll write date dot get date, and after that we'll add days here. Now after that, write const year is equal to date dot get full year. Now we'll write for months, so const month is equal to string, and inside that we'll write date dot get month. Now after that we'll add 1 here, because in JavaScript date starts from 0. So, and after that we'll write dot pad start for the single digits dates, so it will add 0 in the single digits. So let me copy this line here and paste it here, and we'll do this for the day. And here write get date, and remove this, and after that we'll return the formatted dates here. So open backticks and write the $sign here. Inside this we'll write year, and let me copy this and paste it here for the month and the day. So we'll get the formatted date. Now after that, let's create another function here. Write export const score paths to get the score paths here. So for that, let's go to our GitHub. Inside our source folder, you will get the services and football API file. Here you have to copy this code, and in place of this, paste this here. So we'll trying multiple paths here, like source.home, home scores, goals.home, scores home, home scores, and like that we are trying for the away team as well. Now after this, let's make a function here. Write export const get match scores, which is equal to, inside that we'll pass the match prop here, and let's open an arrow function. Inside this we'll write const score line is equal to get match value. Now inside that we'll write the match prop, comma, open a array. Inside that we'll write multiple paths here, like status dot score str. After that, place a comma, and let's try multiple score paths here. Scores str, comma, and we'll write scores score dot display, comma, and we'll write score dot display. Now after this, place a comma outside this, and we'll write a empty string here. Now here we'll write const home is equal to get match value. Inside this we'll pass 3 props here, match, comma, score paths dot home, comma, and empty string here. Now let me copy this line of code and paste it here again. So we'll change it with away for the away team. So write away here as well. Now after this, here let's write const has pair, which is equal to home if it is not equal to an empty string, and away if it is not equals to an empty string here. So write a condition here if has pair, then inside that return home, comma, away, comma, display, and in this we'll write its value, open backticks, inside which write a $sign, and inside parenthesis write the home and place a dash here and write the same for away. So we'll display this home and away value here and place a comma and write has score, and for has score we'll write the true value here. Now after that, let me copy this condition here and paste it here, and we'll change it with score line and change the home to make it a key value pair, and do same for away as well, and in display remove this code and instead of that write score line. Now let me copy this return statement here and paste it here. Now inside that we'll remove the score line and we'll show instead VS, and has score will become false here. Now after, let's write const status paths, and which is equal to, place a array here. Inside this we'll write multiple paths for this status. Write status dot long, give a comma, write status dot short, place a comma here, write status dot type, place a comma again and write status only. After that, right here, let's make a function, write export const get match state, which is equal to, and we'll props here, which is match, comma, fallback value, which will be equal to a string which scheduled. Now after this, open an arrow function here. Inside that, write const explicit status is equal to get match value. and inside that we'll pass the match prop and place a comma and pass status paths, comma, and empty string here. Now write a condition here. If explicit status, then we'll return explicit status here. Now after this, write another condition here. Get match score. Inside that we'll pass match and write dot has pair, and then we'll return the string which shows. Now after this, here we'll return get match value. Inside that we'll pass match prop. Inside the array we'll write time, date path, and give a comma here, and we'll return the fallback value as well. Now after this, let's make another function here, export cons get match league. Inside this we'll pass the match prop and open an arrow function. Inside that we'll write get match value, and in this we'll pass match prop here, and inside the array we'll pass multiple paths, which is league dot name, comma, competition dot name, comma, tournament dot name, comma, league, and after that place a comma outside it and we'll show competition here. Let's go to our GitHub and copy these lines of code from here, and let's go back and paste now. This we are creating a function which is get match event ID, in which we take events ID by try. Now after that, let's make another function here. Write export cons find is equal to, inside that we'll pass value prop here and open an arrow function. Now inside that we'll write a if condition, if array dot is array, then we'll show the value here, and after that we'll return the value, and open another if condition, and inside that write if it is not value, or if it is not type of the value, or not equal to object string, then we'll return an empty. After that, let's create a for loop here. Inside that write const item of object values. Inside that pass the value prop here, and inside this we'll write const found is equal to find array. Inside that we'll pass the item prop, and if it is found dot length, then we'll return found here. Then finally we'll return an empty array here. Now after this, let's create another function here, export cons clean value. Inside this, we pass the value prop and a fallback value as well, which shows TBD string. Now open an arrow function here. Inside that, we'll write value, and if the value is equal to 0, then we'll return the 0 string here and write a condition here again. If it is not value, then we'll return fallback value. After this, write another condition here to check the type of. If the type of value is equal to the string, or the type of value is equal to a number string, then we'll return value. Inside that, we pass the value, and finally we'll return the value dot name or value dot title or value dot short name or. Now after this, let's create another function here, export const get match value, which is equal to pass the item comma paths comma fallback value shows the string. Now like this, right inside the clean value, we'll pass the we'll use dot map method here. Inside this, pass the paths prop here and open our arrow function, inside which we'll write path dot split, and inside that we'll show a dot string here and write dot reduce method. Pass the date prop here, we'll pass the data prop here, comma key prop here. Open an arrow function, check the data dot key, it is an array. Inside the array, we'll write key comma item, and we'll write dot find method here, in which we'll pass the value prop and open an arrow function, write value or value is equal to 0. Now place a comma outside it, and finally we'll write the fallback value here, comma. Now after that, let's create another function here, export const get image value from the API, so which is equal to pass the item prop comma paths prop here. Now open an arrow function. Inside this, let's write const value is equal to paths. Let's copy the above lines of code. We have to write key here, so correct it. Inside the find method, remove this code and remove the value prop. Instead, we have to write the candidate prop and open our function, write check the type of candidate is equal to a string and dot starts with, and check if it starts with HTTP or not, so we'll write HTTP. So after this, let's return value or an empty. Now after that, let's go to our GitHub and you have to copy this code, copy this whole code from here, and let's go back and paste this here. In this, we are creating a new function to get the team logo, and we are trying multiple possible paths for the home team and the away team. And in the case of URL, we are trying to get the image value as a URL. So we are passing the match and site props. If the URL present, we'll return the URL, and in this condition, we are returning the URL like HTTP image, and inside that we'll pass the team ID here. Now once we have done this, let's create another function here. Write export const load football dashboard is equal to, it is a async function. Now open our arrow function. Inside that, let's write const request is equal to, inside that, open a array. We'll write multiple paths here. Write live, comma. So write API.get. We'll use get method to get the API here. And inside that, we have to paste the route. So for that, let's go to our RapidAPI, and inside the live scores, you will get the route to get the live scores. So copy this from here and paste inside this. So after that, place a comma, and right here we'll do same for the leagues. So we are trying to get the leagues. So inside that, we have to paste the route to get the leagues data. So for that, let's go to our RapidAPI, and inside that, in the get popular leagues, you will get the route here. Copy this route and paste it here. Now we'll do same for the fixtures. So write API.get, and inside that case we have to paste the route. So inside the fixtures, copy this route here and paste inside this. Place a comma here, and inside that we'll pass the params key, and inside that we'll pass the value as a date key, and inside this we'll write format football date function here, and inside this we'll pass 0. Now after that, let's create a const settled is equal, it should be await. So write await, use promise dot all settled. Inside that, let's write request dot map method, and in this we'll write a comma here first, and then we'll write request. Now after this, right here, open our arrow function and write request. Now right here, write a const data is equal to, inside which we'll pass the live key with an empty array, comma, leagues with the empty arrays, and comma fixtures with empty arrays. After that, we'll write settle dot for each. Inside this, we'll pass the result prop, comma, index prop. Open an arrow function here. Now inside this, we'll write a condition here, which will be result dot status is equal to string here, which shows fulfilled. And after that, let's open up if condition, we'll write data, and inside data we'll write request, and inside that we'll write the index, and then we'll write 0th index, which is equal to find array, and inside that we'll pass result.value.data, and let me write it like this. And after that, let's return. Inside this, we'll write data as a prop, comma, has partial failure as a key, and its value will be settled dot sum, and inside that we'll pass the result here and open up arrow function, and then write result dot status, which will be equal to a string which shows rejected. Now after that, let's create another function, export cons fetch fixtures by date. It is equal to async, and inside that we'll pass the date string and open an arrow function, write a try block here. Inside this, we'll write const response is equal to await API dot get, and inside that we have to write the route here to get the response from our API. So for that, let's go to our RapidAPI. In the fixtures, click the get matches by date and copy this route here and paste that here. Put a comma and write a key which will be params, and inside that we'll pass date as a key, and the value will be date string. Then we'll return find array, and inside that we'll return this response dot data. Then after that, right here we'll write the catch block here, inside which we have to catch the error. So write error. Inside that, let's write console.error to show the error on the console, and inside that we'll write the error, a colon, and then we'll show the error. Now after that, we'll return an empty array. Now let's write here const unwrapped API response is equal to, we'll pass the data prop here and open an arrow function, write data and check dot response, or write data and we'll check dot data, write or data, write the empty objects here to show the fallback value if none of these were present. So right here, write another function, export const fetch match location. So it should be a async function. Inside that we'll pass the event ID as a prop and open an arrow function, and inside that write a condition. If it is not event ID, then return an empty object here. Then let's open a try block here. Inside the try block, write const response is equal to await and write api.get method, and inside that we have to paste the route here to get the match location. For that, right here you can search for the location by ID. So click on this and we have to copy this route, and let's go back and paste this here and give a comma, and right here we'll pass the params key, and inside that we'll pass the value as a prop, which is event ID. Once you have done this, let's return. In return, we'll return the unwrap API response. Inside that, we'll pass the response.data here. Once you have done this, let's make a cache block here to cache the error. So write error, and inside that, let's console that error, console.error. Now inside this, we'll write error fetch match location and put a comma, and we'll show the error here. Now after that, we'll write return, and we'll pass an empty object in return. Now it is completed. So let me fix some issues here. So in format football date, let's correct the spell. It should be format. Now copy this. Let me search if I did same and correct it here as well. Now okay, so right here in line number 88, it should be has score, not has pair. And here in line number 200, it should be request. So put a S here. 1 and 211, we should write it like this and correct the spell here. Now after that, here it should be matches, so A should be in small letter. I'll correct some spells here, place a comma here, and add a space right after return. Now after that, let's go back to our hero component and let's build this hero component. So let's import the Lucid React icons here. So I'll import the arrow right icon, comma, loader 2 icon here, and write from Lucid React. Now let's import get match value from the football API and get team logo as well. And let's import the hero styles for the styles of this component as S from the dummy styles file, which is present in the assets folder. As you can see in our assets folder, all the styles of each component is present in this file. As you can see here, all hero style of the hero component is refactored and stored in this file here. And we are importing the styles from this file to our each component. So after this, let's go to our GitHub and inside home.jsx component, copy this lines of code and go back and paste it here. Here I am storing the background video of this hero component, which I have uploaded in the Cloudinary, as you can see here. And now here in the team name paths, I'm defining multiple possible paths for the home team and the away team. And let's write a function here which is real team badge, inside which we'll pass the logo prop, name prop, and the feature prop. Now open this, and inside that we'll return. Open a div here, and inside that let's give a class name. Right here, write $, and inside that we'll write s dot badge base, and here write another styles. So first let me cover this inside the backticks. So inside the another one we'll write featured, and we'll check. Then if it is featured, then we'll show s dot badge featured, else we'll show s dot badge default styles. Now once you have done this, inside that let's pass the logo prop here, and let's check if it is logo. Then we'll show the image tag. So open an image tag and write a source which should be logo, and write the alternate which should be in backticks. Write the name prop here and write the logo. Let's give the styles. Write the class name s dot badge logo. Close this image tag here, and in else case we'll show a span tag here. Give the class name featured and check if it is featured. Then we'll show the s dot badge fallback feature style, and in else case we'll show s dot badge fallback default styles. Once you have done that, inside this span tag let's pass the names and use the slice method here, in which will show only 3 letter name of the teams, and write dot to uppercase. Now after that let's write a function match row. Inside this we'll pass the match and the featured prop, which is equal to false, and write a if condition here, and write if it is not match, then we'll return null, and right here write const home is equal to get match value, and inside this we'll pass the match prop here and give a comma, and we'll pass the team name paths dot home, and copy this line here and right here, paste it, and we'll do same for the away team. So right here right here as well away. I've done this. Let's write const home logo is equal to get team logo. That's which inside that we'll pass the match prop. We'll show the home as a string, and let's copy it, and we'll do same for the away team. So instead of home we'll write away. Right. Then let's write match date is equal to get match value, and inside that pass the match, and we'll show multiple paths here which is stored in the array dot comma status dot long comma status comma date, and let's write a comma and write upcoming string, and after that let's return open a div here and if it is featured, if it is featured, then we'll write the s dot match row featured style, else we'll show the s dot match row default styles and close this div. After that, we'll check if it is featured, and inside that we'll write the paragraph tag, and let's give the class name first, s dot match date. Now inside this we'll pass the match date prop here, and then after that let's open a div here again and give the styles items center and justify center and 2. Now inside this let's open another div here and give the class name, right, team column, and inside that we'll show the real team badge here and write logo is, and we'll show the, and we'll pass the home logo prop here, and inside the name we'll pass home prop, and inside the feature we'll pass the featured prop here. And let me close this tag. Now open a span tag here. Now inside this span tag let's write a class name for this span tag, right, open backticks sign, write a $sign, and inside this write s dot team name base, and we'll write if it is featured, then we'll show s dot team name featured, else we'll show the s dot team name default styles. Now after this, inside this span tag we'll pass prop here, and after this let's open another span tag here. Now give the class name, open backticks, so inside that we'll write s dot vs base, and now here let's check if it is featured, then we'll show the s dot vs featured styles, else if it is not, then we'll show the s dot vs default style. Now inside this now let's open a div here. Let's give the class name, inside that let me first copy these lines of code from here and remove this div and paste it here. So I have to do it for the away team, so we just have to change the home from the away. So write away. Now once you have done this, so if it is not featured, if it is featured, and open a button tag and give the class name s dot match button, and close this tag and write in the button tag the arrow right icon with the size 14, and let's close this icon here. And after that let's export this component here, right, export default function hero, Now inside this, we'll pass the matches prop, which is equal to an empty array, and place a comma, write loading. Now inside that, let's write const display matches is equal to matches dot length, and check matches dot slice, and inside that let's write 0, 3, or we'll pass an empty array in else case. Now here let's return. Inside this, let's write a section tag here. Now let's give a ID which is equal to top. Now let's give the styles of this section tag s.section. Now inside this tag, let's open a div here. Now let's give the class name to this div s.innerBG. Now inside this div, let's open a video tag here. Now inside this video tag, we'll write area hidden is equal to true. And let's write autoplay here. We'll run the video in loop, so we'll write loop and muted and the play inline. And let's give the styles class name is equal to s.hero video. Now after that, here inside this, let's create a source tag. Write source is equal to, so we have to provide the source. So we have declared the source above, so copy this name from here and let's paste the same name here, and let's write type which will be video /mp4, and let's close this tag. Now after that, let's write a div here, give the class name s.overlay gradient. Now close this div by self-closing tag and open another div here, give the class name s.grid container. Now inside that, let's open a side tag. Let's give the class name s.statsAside. Now here we have to write some stats here, so I'll add these 3 stats with the label and the loading state. As you can see, we are showing the match rating, market value, and pass accuracy. Now after that, let's open a div here, give the class name s.heading wrapper. Now open a h1 tag inside it. Let's give the class name s.heading. Inside this, let's write the heading, write a br tag here, and let's write Morty. Now after this, here let's open a side tag again, and let's give a class name s.rightPanel. Now close this, and inside that we'll pass the display matches with the 0th index, and we'll check. And inside that, let's open a div and let's give the class name to this div s.featured match card. Let's paste these divs here again, and let's write featured match card header, and here let's write featured match card header text. Paragraph tag instead of div. Now here, let me close this div here, and its closing tag should be here. Now inside this paragraph tag, let's write featured, place a br tag here, and write match. Now after that, let's open a button tag here. Let's give the class name s.featured match button. Now inside it, let's add a usage icon here, which is arrow right. Let's give the size, which will be 70. Here, let's write match row, and inside that, in the match, we'll pass the display matches with 0th index. We'll write featured. So close this tag. Now here, let's open a div for the else case. Let's give s dot empty state. Now inside it, let's add a loading state here, and place a usage icon loader 2. Let's add a styles here, which is mx auto. Size will be 6, and animate spin. Now after this, let me close this tag, and in the else, no update, no upcoming matches. Now after this, so let me pass the display matches dot length. If it is greater than 1, and inside this, let me open a div here, and let me give the class name s dot more matches row. Now inside this div, let me open a paragraph tag, and let's give the class name is equal to s dot more matches label. Inside this, let's write more here, and place a br tag, write it matches. Now after this, let me open a button tag here. Inside this, let me give the class name is equal to s dot more matches button. Now inside this, let me open a arrow right icon, give the size 14, and close this tag. Now after this, let me create a div here, and give the class name s dot remaining matches grid. Now inside this, we'll show display matches dot slice of 1 dot map method, and inside that we'll pass the matches prop and index prop. And let me open arrow function. Inside this, let me write match row. Inside key, we'll pass the match dot id or index prop here, and match is equal to match, and let me close this tag here. Okay, after that, we forgot to create a function for this stats. So right here, let me create a function called stat, and inside this, let's pass the value prop, comma, label prop here, and comma, loading prop as well. Now inside this, let's return. Inside the return, open a div, give the class name, minimum width will be 0. Now inside this div, let me open a paragraph tag, give the class name s dot start value. Now inside this paragraph tag, pass the loading and we'll check if it is loading, then we'll show the loader icon. Give the class name size 8 and animate spin. Close this tag and in else case we'll show the value. Now after this, let me open another p tag here and give the class name which is equal to s dot stat label. Now here inside this we'll show the label. Now let me copy this. This code should be right after this. So here in the match date, so we have to remove the space between it. It should be match date like it. In this, the styles will be justify between instead of center. And here, so instead of away, there should be match prop. Now after this, let me run and check our hero component. Let me open it. Okay, so we have to first in app.jsx we have to remove this and we have to add the hero component here, and let me import this component as well. Now let's check again. Okay, so there is an error. Let me check with the console. Okay, there is a loader tool usage React icon error here. Let me fix it. So it should be loader. Let me refresh it. Now as you can see here, there is our hero component. Now ready. Now to change some font, let me go to our, and I have added some extra CSS in the index.css file. So copy this CSS from here and paste this index.css file. Now after this, let me go and check as the font style is changed. Now after this, let me create another component here, which is navbar. Now in this, let's import the usage React icons, which is circle, comma, menu icon, comma, X icon from usage React, and let me import the useState hook from React, and let me import the styles of the navbar component, which is navbar styles as S from dummy styles file. Now here, let me write the export default function for this navbar component. Here let's write const menu open, comma set menu open is equal to useState hook, and initially it will be false. Now after this, let's return. Now inside this return, let's open a nav tag and give the class name, which is s.nav. Now inside this, open a div here and give the class name, which is s.innerContainer. Now here inside this, open an anchor tag. Let's write the href is equal to hashtag top, and let's give the class name is equal to s.logo. After this, beside that, let's write the FootBuzzz, and let me remove this extra class which is added here. Now, after this, let's make the desktop nav section here. So for that, let me open a div here, and let's give the class name, which is s.desktopNav. Now inside this, open an anchor tag, and let's give the class name s.desktopNavLink. Now here, let's write the href, which is equal to hashtag matched center. So inside it, we'll write the label, which is matches. Now copy this anchor tag and let me paste here twice, and let's change the label, which is standing, and another one is fixtures, and let's change the route. For standing it should be standings, and for fixtures it should be fixtures. Now after this, let me open a div here and give the class name is equal flex, minimum width will be 0, item center gap 2, and for the smaller screens gap will be 3. Now inside it, let me open an anchor tag and write the href here, hashtag live, and let me give the class name, which is equal to s.live_button. Now here inside it, let me add a circle icon here, and the size should be 7. Class name s.liveIcon. Now here, let me open the span tag, give the class name is equal to s.liveTextFull, and here we'll show the live stream. Now copy this span tag and let me paste it here. Let me change the styles. It should be live text short, and will show only live here. Now after this, let's make the mobile hamburger here. Now open a button tag. Let's give the styles, which is s.hamburgerButton. Now inside this, let's write onClick property, and this, let's open an arrow function and write set menu open, and inside that write if not menu open. Now after this, let me remove this from here, and we have to write it inside the button tag. Here inside this button tag, let's write menu open and check, and if it is, then we'll show the X icon here and give the size, which is 18. Let me close this tag. After that, in else case, we'll show the menu icon. Size will be 18 as well. Now after that, right here, let's make the mobile overlay. So right here, we'll write menu and inside this, let's open a div, give the class name s.mobileMenu, and let's open an array. So it contains navigation details for each section, like match center for the matches section, and we'll do same for other section as well. We'll write the navigation for standings, and let me give the label here, which is the standings, and let me make for the fixtures as well. Now after this, write .map method, and inside that we'll pass the href prop and the label prop. And let's open an arrow function. Here, open an anchor tag, and let's write the key, which is href, and href will also be href, and let's give the styles for this anchor tag, which is s.mobile menu link. Now after that, let's use onClick property here. Inside this, open an arrow function and write set menu open false. Now after this, here let's pass the label. Now let me check our UI. So typo and hit enter. Okay, so first we have to add our Napa component in the app.jsx. Now let me check. There is an issue in our console. The menu is not defined. Let me check in our Napa component. Let me search for the menu. Here we have to write menu open instead of only menu. That's the issue. And here we have to write the spell of label. And let's check again. As you can see now, properly showing here with all navigation link, logo, and the live stream button. And let's check for the mobile menu. As you can see, for the mobile menu, it is responsive. You can open and you can close the menu from this icon. Close it. And let's go back as our navbar is completed. So let's build a new component, which is footer.jsx. So right here, let's import the styles for this component, which is footer styles CSS, and let's write a export default function for this component, and inside this we'll return. So in return, let's open a footer tag and give the class name, which is equal to s.footer, and inside that open a paragraph tag and let me give the styles, which is s.wordmark. Now here we'll write FootBuzzz as a word mark. First we have to add the footer in our app.jsx. So after that, let me check here. As you can see, now our footer is showing here. Now after that, let's create another component, which is live score card. Now inside this, let me add the imports. So we are importing the get match league, get match status, get match value, get teams logo, and score paths from the football API. And let's import the styles for this component, which is live scorecard styles as S. Now after that, let's go to our GitHub. Inside our live scorecard, let me copy this code and paste it here. Here we are defining the team paths and we are trying multiple possible paths for the home team and the away team. And in this function for the team logo, we are passing two props here, logo and name, and we are returning the logo with the image, and if it is not present, we are returning the first three letters of this team name as a logo. And we are creating this component function, and inside that we are using multiple functions like get match value and to get the home team and away team, and get team logo to get the home team logo and away team logo, get match value for the home score, away scores, and get match league for leagues, and get match value for the match time. And here let's write return. Inside this return statement, open a article tag. Inside this, let's write class name s dot card. Now here, let's open a div, and inside this, let's write the class name s dot glow red. Now let me close this by self-closing tag and copy this div and paste it here, and we'll write glow blue. Now here, let me open a div and give the class name s dot header, and inside that, let me open a paragraph tag. Let's add the class name s dot leak text. Now here inside this paragraph tag, we'll pass the leak prop here, and let's open another div here and add the styles. Write s dot live badge. Now inside this, open another div and give the class name s dot live dot, and inside this, open a span tag. Let's give the class name s dot live text. Now inside this, we'll pass the match time prop here, and which will be equal to live, and we'll check if it is, then show live here, and in else case, open backticks. Here inside this, we'll write match time here. Now let's open a div here and let's give the class name s dot teams grid. Now inside this div, let me open a div again and let's give the class name s dot team column. Now here inside this, let's write team logo here and write logo equal right. Here we'll pass the home logo prop, and let's write name. Here we'll pass the home team, and let me close this tag, and after that, let me open a paragraph tag. Give the class name s dot team name. Now close it, and we'll pass the home team prop here. Now after that, let me open a div and let me give the class name flex column. Item will be center and justify center. Now let's add a div here inside this and give the class name s dot score box, and inside this, let me open a paragraph tag and give the class name s dot score text. Now inside this, we'll pass home scores prop, and let me open a span tag here. Let me write the class name s dot colon, and we'll show a colon inside this span tag, and after that, let's add the away scores here. Now after that, let me copy this from above, and we have to do the same thing for the away team. So we have to replace the home with away. Now once you have done this, right here, let's open a div again and give the class name s dot divider, and close this div by self-closing tag and write a paragraph tag. Give the class name s dot footer text, and inside this paragraph, we'll write full time and write a dot in between, and we'll write match. Let's create a component here, which is main section, utils.js file. Now here inside this, first go to our GitHub and copy this code from here, and let's just paste it here. Now in this we are importing the fetch match location function and the get match value function from the football API, and we are declaring the team name paths for the home team and away teams, and here we are declaring the multiple paths for the timing paths and venue paths. And here there is a function called getTeams in which we are passing the match prop and in which we are getting the match value for the home team and away team. Now we are creating another function here which is called getLocationText, in which we are passing two props here, location data and fallback. And now here we are creating an object source in which we are storing the location data, and we are creating a name object in which we are creating a get match value function to get the source from multiple possible paths. Now here we are creating another objects which is latitude and longitude, in which we are getting the multiple possible paths values to get the location of the latitude and longitude. And here we are returning the name and the latitude and longitude values, and if it is not present then we'll return the fallback value. And here we are creating another function which is get match location. Here we are passing three props here, which is event ID, fallback venue and is active. And inside this we are creating location data object, and here in which we are passing the event ID to fetch the match location, and in return if it is active then we are returning the get location text with the location data and the fallback venue if it is not present, and in else case we'll show the null. Now let's create another component here which is main section parts.jsx. Now first go to our GitHub. Here in this component so we have to copy this code from here, and let's go back, paste this code here, and inside this we are importing the usage React icons, and we are importing the live scorecard component, and we are importing functions from the football API, and we are importing the get teams and timing paths from the main section utils, and we are importing these styles for this component. Now there is date options. This array is used for our fixtures filter button. Later we'll map over it to generate the three buttons dynamically. And there is a league name paths in which we'll store all possible paths inside an array. Now there is a status checks. This object contains keywords that help us determine whether a match is live, finished or upcoming. Now there is a helper function which is getStatusKind. This function classifies every match into one of three categories, which is live, finished and upcoming. Now there is a getScheduleStatus. This function returns the appropriate status for fixtures. If the API doesn't provide one, we'll generate a fallback like scheduled, result pending. And now there is a getSummary. This function loops through every match using reduce and counts how many are live, how many are finished and how many are upcoming. Now there is a reusable UI components which is section title. Instead of designing every section heading separately, I created one reusable component. Now every section automatically has the same stylings. Now there is a team badge. This component renders the team logo. If the API doesn't return a logo, instead of leaving the space empty, we'll simply display the first three letters of the team's name. Now there is a team column. This is an reusable component. Since both we have home and away team have identical layouts, we created one component and simply passed different props.
Now there's match teams. This component combines everything together. It displays home team, score or vs away teams. And now there's featured match. This component displays the large hero card at the top of the match center. Inside it, we are displaying match status, view button, teams, scores, leagues, kickoff time, and live statistics. Instead of manually writing 3 information card, I created an array, which is trophy, clock, and bar chart 3, and it simply map over it. There is match center stat. This creates those small statistics like tracked, live, final, upcoming. Now there is side match card. This component is used for the smaller match card display beside the featured match. Now there is match center component. This is the main container. Inside it, we are rendering section title, featured match statistic, side match card, and there is match detail panel. This component is responsible for the pop-up model where the user clicks view, this panel opens. It displays team, scores, status, leagues, match location, event ID. If no match is selected, then React simply renders nothing. Now there is live scores. This section displays all currently live matches. Instead of designing cards here, we are simply reusing the live scorecard. Now there is standings. This section renders leagues standings. Each row is handled by another reusable component, which is standings row. Now there is fixtures card. This component displays upcoming fixtures. It contains teams, leagues, match status, view button, exactly the same design for every fixtures. Fixtures component, this is one of the most interactive section. It includes date filters, search bar, match list. The date buttons are generated dynamically using dateOptions.map method. This section input updates the states on every key strokes, and an onChange property. React immediately re-renders the fixtures. Now that's that. Let's create a component here, which is main section. Now let's open it. Now let's add imports here. Here we are importing multiple hooks from the React, and we are importing the hero component, and we are importing multiple sections component from the main section parts, and here we are importing the get match location, get teams, venue paths from the main section utils, and we are importing these helper functions from the football API. And now finally we are importing the main section styles of this component from the dummy styles file. Now here let's write export default function for this component, which is main section. Now here inside this, let's add this. Here I'm creating all state variables to store our API data, like loading state, set loading state, and like errors, and like date offset, and search query, set search query, fixtures loading, and selected match, and selected location, and we are using is first mount, which will be true. Now here let's create use effect hook. Let's open our arrow function. Inside this, let's write a async function here, which is load football. Now here let's create a condition. If it is not has football API key, then we'll write a set error here, in which we are showing this error message. Now after that, let's write set loading state here, in which we'll pass false. And then we'll return. After that, let's add a try block here. Write const result is equal to await load football dashboard. Now here, let's add the state set data, inside which will show the result dot data. Now here, after that, let's write a if condition here. Pass the result dot as partial failure. Now here, inside it, write set error and write the error message here. Now after this, right here, let's add a cache block, inside which we'll write set error and we'll write the error message. After that, we'll finally write inside this set loading state and which will be false. Now after that, let's write load football here, and then here let's add a empty array. Now let's create another use effect hook here. Open an arrow function. Inside this, write a if condition. If it is first mount dot current, then inside this, write is first mount dot current is equal to false. Now after that, let's return. Now here, we'll write async function, which is update fixture. Now open it and inside this, write the set fixtures loading, which will be true, and write const fixtures is equal to await fetch fixtures by date, and inside this we'll pass the format football date here, and in this we'll show the date offset. Now let's write set data state, which will be previous, and open an arrow function right here, previous comma fixtures, and then write set fixtures loading state and write a false here. Now here, write a condition has football API. We'll write update fixtures. Now here, let's pass the date offset in the array, and now let's create another use effect hook. Open an arrow function. Inside this, write a if condition. If it is selected, then we'll return undefined. After this, let's write a const handle key down is equal to let's pass the event prop and open arrow function. Write if condition if event dot key is equal to escape. Now we'll write the set selected match will be null. Now here, let's add an event which is windows dot add event listener. Inside it, which we'll write key down, comma, handle key down. And let's write a return, open arrow function, and write window dot remove event listener, and inside that we'll write key down, comma, handle key down. Now here we'll pass an array inside which will show the selected match. Now here let's create another use effect hook, an arrow function, inside it write a if condition. If it is not selected match, then check, write dot match, and will return undefined. Now here write const event id is equal to get match event id, and inside that we'll write selected match dot match. Now after it, let's create a if condition. If not event id, then we'll return undefined. Now let's write let active is equal to true. Here correct the spell, and now here let's write const fallback venue, which will be equal to, which is a function get match. Inside this write selected match dot match, comma, venue paths string venue tbc string. Now after that write a listen get match location, inside which will pass the event id prop, comma, fallback venue prop, comma, let's open an arrow function, write active dot then write location and open an arrow function, and inside this write a if condition. If it is selected, we'll write set selected location function, inside which will pass the location, and after that let's return open arrow function, write active is equal to false. Let me correct it. Now here let's pass the array, inside which will show selected match. Now let's write const open match details is equal to match, comma, status label, and which is equal to get match status, inside which will pass the match prop, and open an arrow function. Here let's write const fallback venue is equal to get match value, and inside which will pass the match prop, comma, venue paths prop, comma, a string which shows venue tbc. Now after that let's write set selected location will write get match event id, and we'll check match. If it is, then we'll write loading location string like this, and in else case we'll show the fallback venue. After this let's write set selected match, and inside this will pass the match prop, comma, status label. Now after this right here let's write const close match details. Now inside this, open arrow function. Here write selected location. Inside this function, write venue tbc string. Now here let's create set selected match, which will be null. Now after that, right here let's write const empty, which is equal to pass the text prop, comma is loading prop here, which is equal to loading. Now open arrow function. Inside this, write a div and give the class name s.empty base. Now after that, here inside this write is loading and check, then we'll write loading fresh football data. In else case, we'll show text. Now after that, write const match center item, which is equal to use memo. Now inside this, let's open arrow function first. Now inside the array write data dot live, comma data dot fixtures. Write dot slice method here. Inside this write 0, 5 and write here comma, write data dot live, comma data dot fixtures. Place a comma here. Now let's create const filtered fixtures is equal to use memo, open arrow function. Here inside this write const query is equal to search query dot trim and write dot to lowercase, and after that write a if condition query. If it is not query, then we'll return data dot fixtures. Now let me fix this arrow function here. Now after that, let's return data dot fixtures dot filter. Inside that, we'll pass the match prop and open arrow function. Inside this, write object dot values. Inside this, write get teams and pass the match prop here. Now write dot sum. Inside this write team and open arrow function and write team dot to lowercase, write dot include. Inside this we'll write query, place a comma here, and inside that we'll pass the data dot fixtures, comma search query here. After that, let's return. Now open a empty fragments here, place a hero component, write matches is equal to, inside this write match center items and write the loading state here and pass the loading top. Close this tag. Now let's open a main tag here. Inside this, let's give the class name s dot main container. Now inside this, let's open a div here. Give the class name s dot glow left and close this div and copy this div, paste right after here and change glow right and write a div here. Give the class name s dot inner wrapper. Now after this, write error and class name is equal to write s dot error banner. Now let's remove this class name from here and inside a div we have to write this class name. Now inside this we'll pass the error and close this div. Now after that, here let's add the main section component and write matches is equal to match center item, which will be write loading state here and pass the loading top. After that, write on view match is equal to open match details. Close this tag. Now open a live score section. Write matches is equal to data.live. Write the loading state here as well. Now write empty state is equal to empty. Close this tag. And now let's write standing section here. Write league is equal to write the data dot leagues and write the loading state here and empty state is equal to empty. Now close this and now let's open a fixtures section here and date offset is equal to data offset. That's right. Now after this, write fixtures is equal to filtered fixtures. Now write a loading state which will be fixtures loading and now write search query is equal to search query. Now let's write set date offset is equal to set date offset and now let's write set search query is equal to set search query and here write on detail inside which we'll write open match details. Now write empty state which will be empty. Close this tag. Now here let's write the match panel here. Selection section is equal to selected match. Now write the location is equal to selected location and write on close property is equal to close match details. Now let's close this tag. Now it is completed, so let me fix some errors here. Right here to write the arrow function. Okay, so in our app.jsx, remove this hero component and we'll add the main section component here. Remove this import as well. Now let's go and check our site. Let's read. Okay, so there's an import error. Let's go to our main section. Let's rewrite the it should be utils. Let me fix the name. Check again and it's showing an error again. Okay, illegal return here. So in the live scorecard, close this div by self-closing tag and remove this closing div here. And let's check again. Okay, so illegal return statement. Here we have to write the return statement inside this export function. So that's the issue. So now let's reload it, and loading is not defined. Okay, so let me check again the main section. Okay, so here let's write the correct. Let me correct the spell here. And let me correct the spell of loading as well. Now here, so it should be match center. Now here there will be set selected location instead of only selected location. We have to, and here it should be match center, not the main section. And it should be date offset. So it should be match center. So C should be capital here. So let me check if there is another match center error in this code. Okay, so right here, correct it. Remove the space from here. And now let's check again. Now as you can see here, so there is another error. Okay, so there is another error here. Get match value not defined. Okay, so so here class name is not defined. So okay, so write the class name here, and in our football API file we have to correct the get match value. Okay, so here correct the spell. Now let's refresh it. Now there is no error here. As you can see, our site has been completed. As you can see here, all the sections, all the featured match are showing coming from the server side. And okay, so now there is an error here. So let me go back and number 211, 211. Let me fix this code here. So we have to write it like this. Remove this bracket from here. Now let's go back and let's check again. So now, as you can see, our error is fixed here. So now our site has been completed. You can see the match center, the live scores, the league standings, and the match schedules, fixtures. You can view the match details, and you can view the yesterday matches and tomorrow's matches as well. And you can see the details as well. And in search bar, you can search the team. So, thanks for watching this video.